right? So the wealth gap is a collection of financial data that is used to show the comparisons between African American, Caucasians, and Hispanics. All right. So when we understand that, I think these are the three largest groups when it comes to ethnic groups. So therefore, it shows the relationship between money, debt, and wealth creation. Right. So this is what we call the wealth gap. Right. The wealth gap. So therefore, if there's a gap in wealth, we have to understand what that gap looks like. Right. We got to understand what that gap looks like. And I'm going to show you the gaps within each ethnic group. So therefore, you can have a quality decision when it comes to your buying psychology. All of this stuff comes down to simple buying psychology. And it comes down to another thing, what we call is just how we govern our own personal finances, right? When we're talking about our financial literacy. So when you understand what it really is, then you'll really understand how I'm participating in it, right? How we're participating in it. Some of us are participating in this gap and don't even know it. We don't even know that we're participating in this gap. However, that's what we're doing. We're participating in a gap that's causing us to stay stuck. It's causing us to not really see what we want to see in life. When it comes to even just going to church and understanding how you really want to get ahead financially, a lot of times we will proclaim stuff, right? We'll proclaim it. God, I'm going to be a millionaire. God, I'm going to do this. God, I see myself buying this. See myself buying a house. I see myself getting out of debt. I see myself really becoming a millionaire. However, if you don't understand the principles, right? The principles of all the things that you're doing, then guess what? You are participating in the wealth gap, all right? So let's get down to the basics of what the wealth gap is. And I'm going to show you three different categories when it comes down to the wealth gap. So I really want to share my screen. So therefore you could be able to follow along with me. If you don't, go grab yourself a pen and a paper, because these results might be a little astonishing for you. All right. So let's go for it. So when you understand the wealth gap, right? The wealth gap is, let's write down the wealth gap. I got my handy dandy pen here, right? My handy dandy pen. So when we understand what we call the wealth gap, right? The wealth gap is broken down really mostly in three categories. You have wealth, or we'll call that family-owned wealth, family-owned. We have millionaires. We have millionaires and we have debt. Okay, these are the top three categories that we'll be discussing on tonight when it comes to the wealth gap, right? So these three categories are absolutely they're monumental when it comes to financial literacy. So when we understand what it is, and we'll be talking about, I'm gonna say C, I'm gonna say A, and I'm gonna say H, right? Just so you know what this is, right? So this is going to be the Caucasian, right? This is going to be African American, and this is going to be the Hispanic. So CAH. So if you follow along, write CAH on your paper. Okay. So we got CAH, Caucasian, African Americans, and Hispanic. So according to the wealth gap in the wealth family owned, right? Family owned. We'll just family owned. So how much wealth each family has, when it comes to the Caucasian family, right? They own about 184,000 in family wealth. Okay. They own about 184,000. Now watch this. Now watch this. You have the Caucasian family that owns $184,000 in family wealth. However, you have the African American that owns, come on, 23,000. Come on, $23,000 in family owned wealth. And then when it comes to Hispanics, they own about 38,000 in wealth. So that should bother you, because when you look at these gaps in between, right? There's a gap here and there's a gap here. And if, us in whatever capacity that you're in, or whatever ethnic group you're in, if you're in the Caucasian ethnic group, continue to do what you're doing. If you're in the African American, community, it's time for you to really, really like wrap this up, because these numbers are staggering. These numbers are absolutely astonishing when it comes to financial wealth and financial own, right? How much your family own. So let's put this in a different perspective, right? So when we look at, 184,000, and that's average, you're talking about it goes higher, and then you have some that comes lower. So that 184 is literally like almost the middle number, okay? So when we understand what this is, right, the family-owned wealth, I would say this is, a couple of years ago, let's articulate this as a house. If we really want to put this in perspective, this would be a car. And this would be, I would say, more of a luxury car. That should bring you like, wait a minute, Dennis, wait a minute. Let's put this in perspective for a moment. When we see how much our family owns, that means that the conversation at the dinner table is not the same. We're talking, you have the Caucasian family talking about wealth creation, talking about trust funds and different things of that nature. We have the African American culture talking about cars, right? And we have the Hispanic talking about, luxury cars or whatever the case may be. So therefore, there's a difference. There's a difference when it comes to the wealth gap, right? So all of this right here comes to buying psychology. Buying psychology. I don't want to, trust me, I can go really deep into buying psychology, which I'm going to keep it light tonight. I'm going to keep it light tonight. So when you understand buying psychology, you will say, if you look at the scope, I just want you to do this for me. Just take a thought and think over your whole family and say, how much did grandma have? How much did grandpa have? Now, if you take their houses back in retrospect, when they first bought them, it was like 12,000, 15,000 back then, back in the 80s or the 70s. However, when you really understand the financial space that we're in now, of course, these numbers, as the years go up, they will start to increase. But the only way they'll be able to increase is if you participate in them. If you participate in actually creating wealth, family wealth. So what does that mean? That means we have to go and start acquiring homes. We have to go start acquiring homes. We have to go start, decreasing debt and increasing our our assets. Decrease liabilities and increase our assets. Okay. So here is one of the biggest things that what happens in the wealth gap. Most of the time, I'm gonna give you this psychology. When we're looking at the Caucasian race, if you're African American or if you're Hispanic, you would think that the Caucasians are, let me put it up here, lucky. How many of y'all thought that before? Like, man, they must be lucky. They got some money, passed down money, they got granddaddy money, stock money, etc. Granted, they may have. However, what are you doing personally that contributes to the gap? What are you doing personally? What are you doing personally? All right, so that's the wealth family owned, right? That's the wealth family owned. So let's get to the other category, right? Let's get to the other category. The other category is millionaires. Millionaires. Y'all forgive my handwriting, but it's all cool. So millionaires. And same thing, Caucasian, African Americans, and Hispanics. Caucasian, African Americans, and Hispanics, right? When you look at your financial situation now, are you on track to become a millionaire? If you're not financially there, is your mindset in the gauge of going to become a millionaire? Now, I don't want you to sit here, be naming it and claiming it. Oh, well, here's my moment. Let me shout about it. No, It takes strategy, it takes principles, and it takes you being financially literate to be able to go to a millionaire, right? Because if you can't effectively manage $100, God will not give you a million, because the only thing's going to happen is going to magnify your buying psychology issues. Whatever relationship you have with money, acquiring more of it when it's not disciplined or is unfixed, it will cause your problem to be magnified times 10. It'll be caused to be magnified times 10. So when you talk about the wealth gap, right, we're on the millionaires. Here it is by race. So when we talk about millionaires, you have Caucasian at 15%. You have African Americans at 2%, and you have Hispanics at 3%. That's a big gap. This right here is a 13-point swing, right? It's a 13-point swing, and coming down to the Hispanic, right down here, it's a 12-point swing. It's a 12-point swing. So you have to go in your mind and say, okay, what am I doing on a day-to-day basis that causes me not to participate in the millionaire gap? Because we have to somehow find a way to close this gap, this 13-point swing and this 12-point swing, right? We have to find a way to close it. We got to find a way to close this, because if we don't, the gap will become bigger. This will become, right? Let's go ahead and do this real quick, right? This right here, this will become 18%. This will stay at 2 or actually decrease down to 1. And the same thing here, it can stay the same or decrease to 2. So you have to find out, what are we doing in order for us to close this wealth gap, right? What are we doing to be able to close this wealth gap? If we don't know what we're doing to close this wealth gap, we'll always be participating in something, in cycles and patterns that are not healthy. We could be participating in unhealthy cycles and don't even know it. Just by being who you are, just being unlearned, just being untapped, just for you not to, who wants to spend their whole life? Let's go here. Who wants to spend their whole life working to get to 70 years old to look back to see you have nothing? You work, hours upon hours. You put in a lot of work, you put in a lot of time, you put in a lot of sweat equity, you put in a lot of tears just to go back to see that you have nothing when you look over. Because in that case, you have participated in the negative effect of the wealth gap, right? You participated in the negative effect of the wealth gap. So therefore, if you participated in the negative effect of the wealth gap, then you can't blame nobody but yourself. I know that I'm coming at you hard tonight. I know I'm coming at you hard tonight, but it's all right. So we talked about, family-owned wealth, right? Family-owned wealth. We talked about millionaires, by the percentage. And the next category we'll be talking about is debt. Uh-oh, here we go. Here we go. Right, here we go. We'll be talking about debt. So the debt by race. Here we go. Y'all really ain't gonna like me now. Right? Let's put out 3 categories: Caucasian, African Americans, and Hispanics. Right? The Caucasian has 8% of debt. African American, watch this, 18%. And Hispanic has 12%. So what does that tell you? That we have the highest amount of debt. If you're African American, you have the highest amount of debt and the least amount of assets. So what are we buying with our money? What are we buying with our money? What are we buying with our money? What are we buying with our money when it comes to us looking at our debt? What are we buying the money? What we're buying, watch this, under here, right? We're buying Gucci belts. LV, Supreme, right? Little, red bottoms, right? We're financing all of this stuff. We're financing cars we can't afford. We're buying, using up credit cards that we don't have any type of strategy to be able to pay back. Come on now. But watch this. Let's ask ourselves, let's pose ourselves this question. We're in class tonight, right? So let's pose ourselves this question. How are the Caucasians using less debt and creating more money? Oh, here we go. Come on. We in the bag now. We deep out in this water now. How are they using less debt but creating money? It's because they are buying one big word called assets. All of this is called liabilities. Right? It's liabilities. So if we're buying cars, clothes, we're buying, things that just makes no sense, just so we can show people, like, think about that. We're spending money to show people that don't care. Oh, come on, D. We're spending money that don't, think about it. The Bible says, watch this. The Bible says it like this. The Bible says that we overcome by the blood of the Lamb in the word of our testimony. But watch this. Here's the clause in this. If we never overcome, who's going to testify? Come on here. If we never overcome and we get stuck in liabilities and we get stuck in cycles and we get stuck in patterns and we get stuck trying to be the latest, greatest of whatever, listen, you will be participating in what they call a deficit, right? A deficit. And you'll be spending all your good earned coins, right? All your good money. You done put all these overtime dollars into things that depreciate, right? Depreciate. It depreciates in value. It goes down in value. So it goes down in value. So we're showing people how to really, really, let's think about it. I'm gonna show you this. Let me clear my screen because this is getting good to me, right? Let's just say you have, right, we're gonna name this person we have, let me just say, I don't know, y'all give me a name. We're gonna name him Tim. Tim and Mary, I'm gonna give her a skirt, right? Tim and Mary, give her some hair, right? They living their best life. They got the biggest smiles on. Tim and Mary, let me give her name. Tim and Mary have a y'all are funny. Tim and Mary have a little child, right? Have a little son. We're gonna give him a little son, give him a little curl on the top of his head like they do in Charlie Brown, right? Give him some eyes and a smile, right? We're gonna call him TJ, Tim Jr. You have Tim Jr. and they have another little girl, right? Give her a little skirt too, right? You got Mary, Tim, TJ. This is TJ, and we're gonna name her. I don't know. We'll give us a name. Let's give it. We're gonna call her. I don't know. Y'all give me a name. Y'all give me a name. Say nice skirt. Y'all give me a name. We got Mary, Tim, TJ, and y'all give me a name. Let's just say the name gonna be, I don't want to say Mary Jr. Sandy. There we go, Sandy. Oh, Kelly. All right, so we got Sandy and we got Kelly. We're gonna name her Kelly Sandy. We need to get them a nickname. They need a last name. We got Mary. We don't want to call him Jackson because that's the big bold name, Mary Smith. So we're gonna name him TJ and Kelly Sandy Smith, right? That's going to be her name. All right. So let's get to it. So watch this. This is powerful. This is powerful. So you have Mary and Tim that are unlearned, right? They're unlearned financially. They're unlearned financially. However, what they do, they pass it on here indirectly. So how do you mean? So this is how cycles and wealth transfer happens or decreases, because whatever their buying psychology is, that's what's going to be the buying psychology of the children if they do not recognize that they're in a cycle, right? So if you're passing down bad buying decision, so if everybody sees, so if TJ and Kelly sees Mary and Tim buying suits, right? They bought them a nice fancy car. They bought them, they got the latest clothes, right? They got every pair of Jordans that you can name, right? You got suits, cars, clothes, Jordans. They going on trips. Watch this. They both together, I want to give them an income amount, right? Let's say both of them together make 80,000, right? Let's just say 80,000 for easy math, right? They both have 80,000. However, they're buying all of this stuff, right? Suits, cars, clothes, Jordans, going on trips, borrowing money, right? Going on shopping sprees, and just doing et cetera. I'm just saying, et cetera. All of this, and watch this, they have not invested, they have not learned how to invest. So therefore, their children will now, unfortunately, start to adapt the habits of their parents. They'll start to adapt the habits of the parents because that's what they grew up seeing. So that's why you'll say, don't grow, don't be like the Joneses and all of these different things. It's because when you look at Mary and Tim's life, they have a ton of liabilities. However, they have not invested in a home. They have not invested in a, if they wanted to buy a duplex, they have not learned how to invest into the stock market, SM. They have not been financially challenged. They have not been financially challenged, or someone showed them an opportunity, but guess what? They declined it. They declined it. So when you understand what poor is, because the Bible says that poor will always be amongst the land. Poor will always be amongst the land. So what does that mean? That means passing over opportunities. Well, you're supposed to be on the next opportunities, regularly. And it's not about somebody selling you anything, not about whatever. However, when you understand, I'm talking about an opportunity as far as looking at a podcast or, starting to really take, financial grip on where you are financially and not be okay with it, right? Because watch this, contentment is the enemy of progress. Contentment is the enemy of progress. So therefore, if you have no if you're content with where you are, you will never progress to where you need to be, right? You'll never progress to where you need to be because you're okay with where you are. You're okay with where you are. So when you understand how the wealth gap is, kind of orchestrated, then you'll have a problem, right? You should have a problem. And you should not be okay with where you are now. You should not be okay with where you are now. Am I okay with where I am now? Absolutely not. I need to get harder. I need to get stronger. I need to get better. I need to get wiser, right? I need to get more in tune and more in depth, right? So when you understand the wealth gap, right? When you understand the wealth gap, you have to understand, are you participating? Are you participating in it negatively or positively? Negatively or positively? When you think about the wealth gap, are you literally participating in it negatively or positively? If you participating in it positively, that means that you may not have what you want right now. However, you're working on a system to get where you need to be, right? You're working on this. So if you're working on this, that means that you are okay, right? You are okay. You are okay with not being popular. You're okay with not being popular. You're okay with humbling yourself. You're okay with, watch this, for a season, you might need to work 2 jobs because you're working to a bigger goal, right? You're working to a bigger goal. Like, who wants to work to pay bills and have no savings? Who wants to do that, right? Who wants to be able to work for bills? Come on, put in a check. If you want to work for pay bills and have no savings, ooh, y'all say not me. Not me. I'm not looking to work my whole life, pay bills and have no savings or have no investments, right? Have no investments. If you have no investments, you have to learn how to do what? In this season, sacrifice. You have to learn how to sacrifice. Now, I know that's a very, very, offensive word that some people don't like. However, that's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to learn how to sacrifice for a certain amount of time. And when you're sacrificing for this time, that means you're, watch this, saying no to, let me clear my board, right? Let's do this. Let's hit sacrifice. Lord, I done spelled it wrong. We're just going to hit sacrifice. So sacrifice, when you learn how to sacrifice, there's sacrifice. When you're in the season of sacrificing, that means you're saying no to parties, spending, right? Saying gatherings. You're saying no to the latest, right? You're saying no to all of these different things, and you're saying yes, to focus, isolation, right? A commitment, you're saying yes because you're going to commit to yourself, right? You're saying yes to so many different things that are unpopular. Like literally, you're saying yes to this stuff. And the only way you'll be able to do this is you have to learn how to, the big D word, all of this equals discipline. If you cannot discipline yourself to stop spending, then unfortunately, you will participate in what we call the wealth gap. If you cannot stop spending and saying no to certain things, right? And you're saying no to certain things, and you're focused on creating something that will really motivate your life and really turn your life completely around. If you can't stop spending, you are literally siphoning out, right? We're going to use this as a siphon. siphoning out your future. So what does that look like? Just take your life now and times that by 40 years. And you will have the same outcome. You have the same outcome, right? You have the same outcome. So if you're not willing to sacrifice, like literally, like I'm gonna tell you, like I told a lot of people our story. My wife and I, in our early 20s, like I was 22 at that time, we went through a foreclosure. I'm telling you guys, I don't mind sharing my business. A foreclosure, 3 repos, charge-offs, collections, right? We went through all of these different avenues. However, if you look at our life now, it'll seem as if these never existed. It's because we decided to do what? Take action. We decided to take action for our own financial future. One, you need to do what? Forgive yourself, right? Forgive yourself. 2, you need to create a plan. 3, you need to discipline, right? If you look at our story now, you can never tell how we've been. We went through a foreclosure, 3 repossessions, charge-off collections. None of that is on my credit. Right? None of this is on my credit. I learned how to fix my credit. I've learned how to build up wealth through credit. So now my wife and I have we got probably about $100,000 in available credit that we could use for any type of investment, right? We don't carry high debt because we learned the strategies on how to be able to really push. We've learned the strategies of how we're able to really get out of this. So therefore, I'm not telling you this from a place of knowledge. I'm telling you this from a place of experience. And if we have not learned how to experience what we did, we'll always stay stuck in a cycle. Cycles and patterns are the most biggest things that we all articulate, because watch this. If you don't learn how to break the cycle, we turning the corner. We turning the corner now. If you don't learn how to break the cycle, right? If you don't learn how to break the cycle of poverty, then guess what? You are passing this cycle on to your children. You're passing this cycle on to your children. So therefore, what you're living now will be your children's reality, because you have not learned how to break the cycle, right? So what you're doing is, watch this, I'm gonna give you another perspective that you might not like, right? You might not like it, because when you decide not to take on financial literacy, we all know Harriet Tubman. She was the biggest revolutionary when it came to pulling, people from slavery into freedom. When you decide to not pay attention to your finances, instead of leading you and your family to freedom, you are literally telling them, you're walking them back to the plantation. Watch this, telling them to put, you telling them to put on the handcuffs, right? Put your head down. Don't say a word. Because now you're in the place where now you have not gotten yourself free. And if you have not gotten yourself free, then how can you get somebody else free? Come on here. So watch this. If you learn how to be able to pull yourself out, then you have no choice but to pull everything and everybody else out with them. Right? You have no choice but to pull everything and everybody else out with you, because now you're in the place of abundance. You're in the place of wealth. You're in the place of moving. You're in the place of just really pushing yourself to another level. But if you don't pull yourself from another level and push yourself into another place of freedom and wealth, then guess what? You are now participating in the cycle that you don't want. And why are you participating in the cycle that you don't want? Because you're not taking on the proper efforts to really push yourself to get out of a state of do nothing. You're too content. You're in this place where now everything that you have has to now be regulated on someone else's sweat. Oh, what does that mean? That means in order for you to survive, somebody else got to live. Come over here. That means that if somebody else don't do, then that means that you can't become because they haven't became. So therefore, now you become a, I don't want to say this, but this might be hard. This might be a hard reality. Some might become a financial leech for people. You don't want to be a financial leech, right? Because if we fail, if we fail to learn entirely, we become acceptable to holding on to bondage. We become acceptable to holding ourselves in a bigger place. Who can testify for your family? Come on. If you don't break the cycles, if you don't break the patterns, if you don't break all these bad cycles and spending habits, who's going to be the one to testify? We can't sit here and say, well, Brother Sally, Sister Sally got this and Brother Tim got this. No, I'm talking about you. You right there on the screen. I want to talk to you for about 3 seconds because I really want you to understand what you need to do in order for you to win financially. And if you decide to sit here, listen to this and don't say nothing and you cool with it, that's your reality. However, if you want to be able to watch this, pass down broken information. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Because watch this. You're like, D, how am I passing down broken information? Perfect. Perfect. If you don't, let's just say, if you don't know how to get out of debt, right? You don't know how to get out of debt. You are doing this. You don't know how to get out of debt. Think about your parents. Did your parents know how to get out of debt? Or if they held high debt, right? We're just going to use high debt. If they held high debt and the only thing you saw them was work and pay bills, right? Work and pay bills. They have not invested in getting themselves a house, etc., right? You saw them work to pay bills, work to pay bills, work to pay bills. So they have this high debt. And now, unfortunately, you have this high debt. And if you go back another generation, their parents had high debt. Why? Because they learned from their parents, and therefore you learn from your parents. Now your child is learning from their parents, which are you. And if no one breaks that cycle, then guess what? I'm going to tell you this. You're learning how to live life by someone you never met. Come on here. So what's that mean? That means that you might not have ever met great-granddaddy, great-grandmama, great-great-grandmama. However, you're functioning your financial literacy based upon their ideals because you have not broken the cycle in your family. Here it is. Here it is. Come on. We in this, right? We in this thing. We in this thing, right? So watch this. Watch this. The Bible says, watch this. And I'm about to get off of here because I can keep going. The Bible says like this in 1 Peter 2:9, it says, but you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special, right? God's special possession. That's what the Bible says. You're God's special possession. And who are called out of darkness into the marvelous light. Called out of darkness, right? You're called out of debt. You're called out of poverty. You're called out of the different cycles that you're participating in now. If you're called out of it, why not you walking? That means that either you decide to stay, it's like if someone calling your name, you have a choice to answer or deny and ignore it. Why are you ignoring the future of God? Come on here. Because if we're called out of darkness into the marvelous light and we're a royal priesthood, that means that God is positioning us to be wealthy. So therefore, if you don't answer your wealthy place, then it's not a fact that God didn't provide. It's just the fact that you didn't answer. Come on here. It's the fact that you didn't answer. And so therefore, why would God, come on, why would God, who's running, if his streets are paved with gold, if everything he has is top of the line, why would he want you living less than? Huh? Why would he want you living less than? The only reason why we live less than is because we have not accepted a call to be great. We have not accepted the sacrifice to be wealthy. We have not accepted the discipline to discipline our spending habit. Like, why? Like, think about it. Like, why are you going to buy stuff that you don't need? Like, okay, you got one wig. Why you need to buy another one? Sacrifice for a year. Put your head down for 2 years. Learn how to budget. Learn how to increase your credit. Learn how to use all of these different things to be able to start a business and invest and get yourself in the position to buy a house. Come on, stop running off of the sweat of somebody else. Create your own legacy. In order for you to stop it, you got to stop it. You got to stop it, right? You got to stop it. So I'm gonna stop here, right? We talking about stopping. Let's stop here because I can keep rolling, you know, because I'm excited about. I'm just excited about people winning. I'm excited about people winning, right? So therefore, let's do this. I want to do a financial declaration, right? I'm gonna give you give you one sentence. I really want you to, if you need to go back and replay this and watch this over and over again, I really want you to be able to take this declaration, right? I love this declaration. I wrote this declaration myself. So I want you to say, today is my day to experience God's favor. I want you to say that out loud. I want you to declare this. I don't care who's in your house. Today is my day to experience God's favor. I am walking into the abundance and the intelligence of God. Here it is. My hands are working with me and for me to create life-changing experiences. That's a quick declaration for you. I can keep going, but I really want you to do that one, right? That small declaration every single day. I say it again. Today is my day to experience God's favor. I am walking into the abundance and the overflow of God and the intelligence of God. My hands are working for me and with me to produce life-changing experiences. All right. So that's your boy. I'm out of time. I'm never out of words.